All right, stand by. Roll sound.
Speed.
Roll camera.
Speeding.
Slate.
Scene one, take one, mark.
And action. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Bernie's Apple Box, Friday at 2 o'clock. Here we are again, and I am here with a friend of mine who I've known for a long time, and I'm so excited to talk to him today because he's like a walking history of Orange County production, Martin Wright. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Bernie, how are you?
Yeah, very good,
Great.
very good. Not to be confused with Colonel Sanders now, mind you, but in fact, you just showed me a picture of your Halloween costume. Yeah. That was absolutely a riot. So that was so funny, and it's burning my brain now.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Martin Wright, somebody who I had really not met you in my career early, but I always heard your name bandied about, and you're over here, you're over there. I heard you had a truck at one time and all this. Then we met each other and became pretty darn good friends.
Yeah.
And then I've always been fascinated by your business model because you have such a unique story, and I think it's a story of really the climbing of the stairs in the production world, you know,
Yeah.
that are so much the same. And that is exactly what we're trying to do here in Bernie's Apple Box, is make that story come alive. You know, make that story come alive for people that you see it's not how you maybe think it is. It's about grabbing opportunities. And I know you're somebody who has jumped on every opportunity that you've had.
You got to keep awake and
You do.
see what's there.
You do. And it's always changing. I think that's the thing that a lot of people, they get comfortable, they get to a place where they're happy, they're making money, but they don't realize in 6 months, a year, 2 years, that's going to change. And you've got to be ready for those opportunities that are going to knock on your door, but you better recognize them.
And be ready to
Be ready
be
to
nimble.
execute. Be nimble. Be nimble. We've seen that time and time again. So Martin, I know you've got some great stories, and Martin was also a prompter operator, and we haven't had a prompter operator on here yet. So I'm going to delve into that a little bit with you and talk about that model. But just doing the pre-talk, I mean, I was surprised, even knowing you as long as I have, on some of the things that you were involved with. How did you get a start in the business? Just start there and we'll take it.
Well, really, you know, it started from doing wedding videos.
Okay.
And
very typical path into the introduction.
You know, and really, prior to that, I was selling home electronics at J.C. Penney's.
Okay.
And
okay.
we would get, you know, that
At
was
J.C. Penney's.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that, you know, I mean, that's when VHS decks were just coming out.
Sure.
And I said to a friend of mine, you know, we could probably make some money doing weddings.
Yeah.
You know, people are trying to do their own deal here.
You had that bright idea, right? And it was just like, hey, look, what can we do with this?
There's stuff here.
Yeah.
People can't, I get these people in all, you know, talking to them every day. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we bought a few things and started doing a couple wedding packages or whatever. And then I went and I kind of got into it more, and I went to this trade tech school in Hollywood.
Okay.
And started learning some more production.
What was it? What was the school?
It was called Sound Masters, and
Okay.
it was an audio recording studio that they had branched into video as well.
Okay.
And so they started teaching engineering and production classes in both
Sure.
aspects. So I did that, and then same thing I told my friend. I said, you know, we could really be the big deal here, and we'll go with 3/4.
Okay.
And we bought these 2 giant
And this was 3/4 tape.
tape. I mean, the decks were,
And that was professional
70.
grade. I mean,
That was everything there was,
That was the top end.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay. So now, are you shooting weddings and then put on 3/4?
yeah.
Okay.
So we were dragging this.
What kind of
anchor.
cameras were you using?
We had a couple JVC KY2000s, these big tube cameras.
Okay.
You had to register them, and
Yeah.
there's never enough light.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you went and did what you did.
Yeah.
So I started doing those, and kind of kept pushing it along, and then it, eventually ended up starting to, having to go to this cable company to edit the weddings.
Okay.
They had a public access department, and did that for a while, and then started selling broadcast gear. That was right when Betacam came out, and Betacam and 1-inch and some effects units and camera kits or camera packages and that. And I did that for a couple of years and went to work for one of the guys that I sold gear to. And we were doing work, and then started our own company, separate from that.
Hold on just a
Yeah.
second, Martin. What do we got, Hunter? Oh, his log went out? Sorry, folks. We just had just discovered, which you probably have known for a while, that Martin's log went out. What happened, Hunter? Just unplugged? All right, we're checking on that. Audio emergency. There's an audio
Here it comes
emergency
again.
on Bernie's Apple box.
Probably best not to hear me.
Yeah, you know what? We could do subtitles, maybe. Okay, I think we're good now, right, Hunter? We're all good?
Yeah. So back up now? All right.
Okay, now it's my turn to say it. Waiting on sound. Okay, sorry.
So that's
sorry.
all right. So we started doing some other work, and I called that guy from the cable company and said, "Hey, do you have any clients or whatever that come through there that I might work with?" And he said, "We got this guy that does hardware videos, little like sales videos for Sony Transcom, and you could work with him." Well, we started editing some stuff with him, and that's where
And
I
now,
met-
what type of work was he doing?
he was an independent guy that I don't know how he got the work,
Yeah.
but Sony basically provided all the production elements, and he just put them together.
Okay.
So, and he didn't do it; he just came to me and we did it.
Yeah.
So we started doing those, and I met Rick Warren there,
And Rick Warren is your now.
he's now my boss and
Okay.
soon partner, I hope.
Okay. Very
See the
good.
progress.
Very good.
So I met him, and then we started doing some monthly shows for him. And U.S. Air and Hawaiian Air and Air Canada. So we're doing those.
And what were you doing for the airlines? What were you doing
For the
them?
airlines, U.S. Air and Air Canada, and Hawaiian at that time, those were magazine formats.
Okay.
So
So they're doing just like a little travel magazine.
it'd be
in
like
the
a half
air.
hour, a 1 hour, or a
Okay.
2 hour
What
show.
to do in Toronto or the
More
road to Hana?
like
or-
a sitcom, a travel piece,
Okay.
a news piece, or whatever. They had to be fairly evergreen because they lasted for a month.
Okay.
Every month they replace the shows, but as you fly from A to B,
So it was a sitcom from like a network,
right,
and then a little travel log,
Okay,
and then a
then-
little sales thing.
or it might be two
something like-
sitcoms or whatever.
Right.
They're usually an hour or 90-minute shows.
All
something
right.
like
All
that.
right.
So we were doing those, and I got to know Rick fairly well, and we did that for a year and a half or maybe 2 years. And at that time, Hollywood South was a local.
Now Hollywood South, and let's live just for people who
Yeah.
won't understand that. This is about the time I'm intersecting the business now.
Probably.
This is about the time I'm a $50 a day PA.
Right.
Right. So Hollywood South in Orange County, when I started, that was like the big whoa, everybody's there.
Exactly.
Yeah, you go to Hollywood South, you got everybody in every department, every company working. It was all good.
Right.
It was all good. Okay. All right, we got a little
this is
issue
working out
here.
pretty
Yeah,
well.
this is good. We're doing it's audio day to day on Bernie's Apple Box.
Your belt is messing with the cable, I think. It's like in your
Oh, just set it down here somewhere.
Yeah. How's the audio now? Martin, give us a check, will you?
Yep.
See, we do it on the air here, folks.
Well, yeah,
You don't miss a thing on Bernie's
no
Apple
pre-production
Butt.
here.
No, we don't do
It's
that.
just
We're not like that.
show up and see
Yeah,
if it
this
works.
is behind the scenes, damn it. Whether it's on the air or not.
In front of and behind.
That's right. We do it all. We do it all. We're fair.
All right.
All right. So now you're doing that work.
So we're doing that work, and then we had kind of heard through the grapevine that Hollywood South was
Right.
coming up for sale.
Yeah. Okay.
So
This is around the '94 area,
yeah,
right?
probably
Yeah, era.
late '93,
Yeah.
mid '94, somewhere
Okay.
around there. So four of us got together and worked out a deal with them and purchased their gear, and opened. That was when Postmodern Edit started.
Okay.
So we opened Postmodern Edit. We were doing work for airline work with Rick still, and some work with Taco Bell, and other local entities. And we were doing that for a couple of years. And another company came and said, "Hey, we'd like to buy your business."
Okay.
So we worked out the deal with them and sold that. I stayed at Postmodern for another 3 years working for Rick. He had left Sony at that time and come in to get Postmodern off the ground, or
Sure.
move it to the next level. And he had a lot of airline clients and distributor clients and that. So working at Sony, he was working with the airlines, the Hollywood studios, the distributors, the labs, so he knew everybody.
Oh wow.
So it was
So he was well connected.
he was
the rock.
the hub,
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
And everybody knew him. And when he got into Postmodern, he basically called and said, "Hey, I'm on this side of the table now,
Yeah.
and we'd like to do work for you."
Yeah.
So that ramped up pretty quickly.
Okay, that's great.
I was there for another 2.5, 3 years, and then my contract was up. So I left there and went and started Bright Orange, and essentially did the same kind of work, but as more of a one-man.
So now you moved off from Postmodern at this point. You went and started your own shop
Right.
in Orange,
Right.
And it was called Bright Orange.
Yeah.
And so you're starting to glean some clients on your own. Then.
Right.
Okay.
So I was doing, the same kind of things, one airline client basically, and then local production.
Okay. And you know what? And I know what you're into. I know where we're going here with your current company, because this airline thing is something that is and I don't want to go down the road too heavily now, but it
Yeah.
blew my mind when I thought it, because I had never thought about watching a movie on an airline, but it's not as simple as we're taking the movie and showing it to you on the airline.
No, not
Yeah,
at all.
yeah.
And this is the work that Postmodern did when they were there, and we do it at West now.
Yeah.
It's, product entertainment comes in, but for the airlines, there are domestic versions, there's international versions, there's Middle East versions that are edited even farther.
Right.
So,
And they're
all-
edited for content because you don't know who's sitting in the seat watching it. Am
exactly.
I correct? Yeah.
So they edit out violence and sex and language and
all
plane
the
crashes.
good parts.
Right.
Yeah. Plane crashes. Yeah, they don't want any
You
plane
don't want to
crashes.
sit on a plane and watch plane.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They never show
Yeah, right.
Titanic or Poseidon Adventure on a cruise ship.
Right.
Right?
Gotcha.
So they tailor it to
Yeah.
the audience.
Yeah.
But all of that that entertainment has to have subtitles.
Yeah.
And has to have tracks.
Yeah.
Different audio language tracks, so that you can choose from it depending on where you're going and
Sure.
and who the viewer is.
Sure. Okay,
So-
so you've got some of those clients and other clients, and
Right.
probably just a general mix of corporate and that type of thing.
Now at West.
No, I mean at your place back there when you had Bright Orange.
When I was doing that, I was just editing the magazine shows only,
Only.
just English only.
Okay.
And Postmodern was getting into the language and
okay.
a
So
much deeper market.
They were
than I was
throwing
in.
you some
I
work.
did more local work for them.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Right.
I mean, I probably did 20 or 30 jobs over 15 years.
Right.
But they'd say, "Hey, we're kind of busy on this. You want that?"
Yeah.
And so we kept a good relationship.
Yeah.
And then in 2013 or 14, somewhere around there, I ended up going and working for Postmodern
Yeah.
in Marina Del Rey in their DVD and
Right.
Blu-ray division.
And your story there was that you were working at Bright Orange. You still have you started out with Postmodern, still have a good business working
Right.
relationship with Postmodern. And then what happened? Did they come and say, we want you?
They said,
or-
you know, we have another entity that's not really related to the airline business. It's this home entertainment
Yeah.
section. And we got a fairly big outfit up there with a mid-sized crew.
Yeah.
And we need somebody to be the operations guy there and kind of keep it going day to day.
Okay.
We got a crack sales group and we got good technicians, but we need somebody to sort of tie it together. So I was up there for a couple of years. During that time, Postmodern got sold to another company.
Okay.
And that other company was specifically airline and in-flight type of entertainment only. And this was one little entity that really didn't fit the rest of their mix.
Gotcha.
So after a couple of years, they said, you know, we're gonna lose that, or at least trim it
And
way
this
down.
was the entity you were at.
Correct.
Okay, up in Marina Del
up
Rey.
in Marina Del Rey. So after leaving there, a couple years, I freelanced and did some other my own stuff and some teleprompting and
Mm-hmm.
whatever during that time as well.
So this is now after they've sold that, or you're out. They've sold it. You're no longer working for them.
Right.
Now you're on your own.
Right.
And I know at this time, and I know very well, Martin, that you have a grip truck.
Right.
Yes. Which you said, and I asked you why in the pre-interview of why in God's name, because I look at it this way.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, a successful guy, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and all these things. Why do you buy the black hole of media?
Well,
Media?
When
you
I
know?
had Bright Orange and I was doing my own corporate production work,
Yeah.
I decided to expand the footprint a little bit and say, rather than renting stuff every time,
Right.
I'm going to acquire
Right.
some hardware.
Yeah.
And I knew, you know, Mark Shoemaker from OC
Yeah.
Broadcast.
Sure.
He was
Mark, I
he-
got my start with him.
That's I know
like,
you did.
Way back when.
And he had that truck that you worked on.
Yep.
He was moving and didn't have a place to put it.
Yeah.
And I worked out a deal and said, why don't I take your truck from you?
Yeah.
And, you know, if I can't pay you, you can have it back. He said, I don't want it back. Which is the same thing
He
you
would have
say
made
now.
the payments for you.
That's
He
the
would have
same
made
thing
the
I'd say
payments
now
for
too.
you.
So I did that and I kept that. And then some years later, I grew out of that thing.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, Postmodern had bought a truck from somebody else.
I know the
You know
history
the
of
tr-
that.
That's right. And that was just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I said, why don't I buy that truck and I'll sell my truck to somebody else empty?
Yeah.
And so that was fine with them.
Yeah.
And it was good with me.
Yeah.
So I took all my stuff, put it in there, had some stuff in it already.
Yeah.
And it essentially grew my capabilities by 25, 30%, just like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that worked out great.
See, usually the quickest way to get somebody out of the rental business
Is buy them
is to get them into the rental business.
yeah.
Because then they want nothing
Then
to
they-
do with it. It's
yeah,
a
exactly.
nightmare headache.
Yeah.
But you stuck with it. You stuck with it.
Yeah.
In fact, that truck you're just talking about is in my driveway right now.
It is.
In a story we will not get into.
We're gonna let
because
that go?
Even I don't know if I can figure it out yet. So you did that. Now you're doing it. Now I would like to talk to you about prompting. And
All right.
and I want to get into this for a little while. Sean, can you tell me where are we at on time? 19. Let's take a commercial break right now. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to go back to a commercial break, and we're going to come back with Martin Wright, and we will see you then. Hi, I'm Bernie. I own Bernie's Grip and Lighting, San Diego Grip and Lighting, and Los Angeles Grip and Lighting. You know, we pride ourselves on not only renting you the best equipment, but also giving you the best crews. And one of our core values here at Bernie's Grip and Lighting is that we give you the highest production value in the world. And remember, people used to say national, local. No, we present world-class production value on every set. We also know budgets are very tight these days, and you've got 10 hours to get what you need in the can. We move ahead, we move fast, and we know what you need. When you rent from Bernie's Grip and Lighting, you have a partner on your production for that day that is making sure you are well taken care of. So anytime you're in Southern California, give us a call at 714-609-3545 and we'll take very good care of you. See you on set. Hey, welcome back to Bernie's Apple Box. We're here with my good friend Martin Wright. Welcome back, Martin.
Thank you.
And just talking about the good old days in Orange County and Martin's career, which has been quite varied. He's taken us through his ownership of starting some editing companies and production companies. And we're just in the way he was working for a company that sold the, I guess you were managing that entity at that point.
For the DVD and Blu-ray work?
Yeah, the Marina Del Rey.
Right.
And so then you got into just, well, I know a lot of people, so I'll just be kind of freelance labor, right? For a while.
Right, which is what I'd done that anyway for myself, basically.
Right.
So I just, and even from, actually from when we very first started Postmodern in '94,
Yeah.
you said you want to talk about prompting.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
Jim Astosian had started Greenberg Prompting.
Okay.
If you want to talk about prompting, you really ought to talk to
Yeah,
him.
I will
But I can
have
tell
him
you my
on.
side
I
of it,
will have him on,
but
yeah.
have him on and he'll tell you all about that
Yeah.
industry. But he had started doing some prompting work. He originally wanted to be an editor. Or
Okay.
he had a pool business, actually,
Oh, that-
which he sold.
Well, he
What
was
a
crazy
natural
to sell
transition.
that. He was crazy to
But
sell it.
He got out of that, and that's when we started Postmodern. And he had gone to Grass Valley School, and he came back and said, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, let's just run this, and somebody else can edit.
Yeah.
And so we
Because that does take a certain personality.
you know, editing, either whether old days or now,
Right.
is really, and we just talked about this a couple days ago, is a third creativity, a third technical
know-how.
chops, you know, and a third being able to get along with people for a long time in a small room.
Wow.
And
wow.
if you can't do that,
It's not going to work out.
Then you're just doing your
It's
own
not
stuff.
gonna work out,
But
yeah.
as far as being an online or a client guy,
Yeah.
if you can't sit in there for hour after hour
Yeah.
and get along fairly well, you got a short career.
It's like I say, this business is filled with people you want to spend 10 hours with.
it has to be.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
it really does. It really does. So now you got in there, and actually I want to get into the editing thing. Let me stick with prompting right now, though,
All right.
because that fascinates me, and I'll tell you why. Prompting is probably the only department that you can be in, and you are directly working with talent. The gaffer
Absolutely.
doesn't, maybe the DP does. Yeah, DP will
Yeah.
have so that dialogue. Makeup will. And the only other one that I can think of is prompting, because they're talking directly
Well,
into faster, slower, word change, whatever.
I freelance prompted
Yeah.
with Greenberg for almost 20 years, and in different degrees,
Different capacities,
a little bit,
yeah.
1 or 2 jobs a month, up to 4 or 5 jobs a week.
Working all the time. Yeah.
So, as a prompter, you are the lifeline from talent to wherever it's going,
right.
and they want to look good.
Yeah.
So, as a general rule, they will come in, and many talent will walk in and go, "Who's the prompter?"
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how big the crew is,
Yes.
or what they're doing. It's like, "Hi, I'm whoever they are."
Yeah, yeah.
And you sit and work together.
Yes.
Whether it's the CEO of Nabisco or
Sidney Poitier.
or any
Yeah,
talent,
yeah.
right? And so you work with these people one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And like I told you a little bit ago, I learned more really about production and the grip and lighting business
I thought that was fascinating. Tell me about
as
that.
a prompter
Okay.
than I did in any other capacity.
Yeah.
Because you are working with a different crew of a different size on a different project every day.
Wow.
So whether you're working on the West Wing or spots for,
A small shoot, a small interview
for
shoot,
a one-man deal,
corporate. Yeah.
or,
yeah.
or for Bernie's Apple Box,
Yeah.
which doesn't have a prompter. by the
we
way.
can't afford it.
Yeah, well,
Well, we can't afford the operator.
save
is
up a
actually
little
what
bit.
it is.
I'll show you how to do it.
Okay, thanks.
So you learn how it's going, and a lot of times you're sitting there and you're watching these crews work. Going,
Yeah.
hey, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And if that's what you also do,
Right.
or it's at least on your radar.
Right.
You're watching somebody go, well, that's a pretty good idea. I'm going to nick that one,
Yeah,
and I'll use
I'm
it
gonna
later on
remember
one of
that.
my jobs.
I'm going to remember that.
You know,
yeah.
so you learn a lot that way.
That's great. That's great. And that is something. And once again, I'll make the analogy to makeup. Exactly the same thing, because they work all size shoots, right?
That's right.
For me, I work because of what I have, what I do, and I'm a gaffer, not a DP. Have a tendency to work one size shoot because
Right.
I have trucks that
Fit in
the
that
job,
thing. You
fit
do a
that
little bit
job
lower and occasionally
category.
a little upper, right?
Exactly. But what an education! What an education to get.
And you watch producers do one thing, or DPs do something,
Yeah.
or the writers do something, and you kind of, or in the corporate side, the corporate communications people,
Right.
putting things together, whether it's a live show or it's otherwise, and you get all these different hands-on experiences within the industry.
Yeah. No.
So
that's
you
great.
really can learn a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of what not to do.
Mostly what
And-
not to do,
yeah.
right? You see the mistakes being made.
Well,
and,
you see how money gets wasted,
Yeah.
or not spent properly, or not spent at all.
somebody's flapping a little too much
Yeah.
and think, well, okay, maybe
Yeah.
I won't say that the next set I'm on.
Exactly. and there's guys that they're talking too much, and you
Yeah.
just learn to sit back
And soak
not,
it in. Soak it
not
in.
be that guy.
I think that is the lesson. I know when I was starting out, and this is my analogy to that story or whatever, is that I was starting out, part of the time I was painting houses or I was an extra, right? Or just gripping, PA grip,
Yeah.
and it was the extra work that really taught me about, of course I have the opportunity to see the big sets. I'm on movies and TV shows
Right.
and watching that workflow and all that, and that's very interesting. But then you move down to the smaller ones, say where I'm a PA on it, or I'm a swing grip or something like that. And then I'm seeing the same thing, only on the smaller scale.
Right.
So I'm able to understand the scalability of it and understand the roles and really know and see, as you said, the mistakes. Not that you don't make your own,
No,
because
but
I
you
have.
try to learn from somebody
learn
else
from
doing
the other
you go,
people.
"Gee, well, don't do that."
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going along and doing that, and how long were you really actively prompting for? I mean, I know you did it when you first started.
I mean,
and all that, but
when we first had Postmodern, and for the years after that, and when I had Bright Orange,
yeah,
I was probably doing 4 or 5 jobs a month.
yeah.
And,
okay.
not a lot, but I had another business to
But
run
you
as
were
well.
you were running a second business. It was
After
almost
I
a
left,
second income.
Marina Del Rey, and before we started West Entertainment,
Yeah.
I went back to Jim and Karen and said, hey,
Yeah.
I could take some more
And
work
they're,
if you
they're
got
some of
more.
the nicest people around. I
We've
know
been
that.
friends for
Yeah.
a long,
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
And, they put a lot, they're very meticulous about how they run their business.
Yeah.
It's a service first with hardware that backs it up, and they're right on it. They're pros at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And which is what it takes from a grip truck side, from the West Entertainment with our post and audio and file delivery stuff, from my Bright Orange work,
Right.
from Greenberg's work. No matter who you are, if you're on the fringe of trying to pull it off,
Yeah.
that
That ain't gonna work.
that doesn't last very long.
No,
And
it doesn't.
so you better. Everybody's got an idea. Hey, I could do this.
Yeah.
You better practice that before you jump in.
Before you jump in
Right.
on set. And
Or
say
have
that, yeah.
some friends that say, hey, I got this Bernie's Apple Box thing, come over and we'll try it.
Yeah,
If
right.
the audio works, great. And,
If not, hey,
If it doesn't, we
what
can
have you lost? You
wing
didn't
it.
pay anything
that's
for
right.
it.
It was free
You're out
anyway.
nothing.
So you learn a lot of stuff from other people.
Yeah.
You keep putting all those pieces together.
Yeah, I think that is just so true, Martin, and that's what I try to get across on this. It's not brain surgery out there. It's about being into what you do. It's about keeping your knowledge base good.
Yeah.
And it's being somebody who can get along with other people.
Well, and you develop a trust factor with whoever your client is in whatever, again, avenue you're in.
Yeah.
That we didn't just bring one of these, because if it breaks, I got a backup.
Oh.
Or we're ready in case something goes amok.
There's a plan B
Yeah.
always. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do have a story that
Okay,
I'll
let's
tell
hear
you.
it. Let's hear it.
This was after we had sold Postmodern and Rick was running it.
Yeah.
We got an audio job in to do a Japanese language replacement for a feature.
Okay.
And the movie was called Harriet the Spy. And it was about this girl in an elementary school that, I forget the story. But anyway, we have the Japanese actors and director in to the place and to record everything. So we record
Right.
all the parts
Right.
for,
So you're doing it. You're recording them and doing a raw dialogue translation.
re-edit and
Yeah,
mix
yeah,
back
yeah.
in. Now at that time, we didn't have any Pro Tools kits or whatever. When we were recording it all on D88s and then slaving those decks together and mixing little sections at a time back onto a submaster of the show. So the show was due on Monday to be delivered to the airlines, and we had finished our recording on Friday, going to do the mix and layback over the weekend, and then put it out.
Sure.
We're going along, and I'm running the edit console, and the audio mixer's in another room, and he's doing his deal. We get up to the last, 5 minutes of the movie,
Okay.
and it's the big
The
finale,
big scene.
right?
Yeah.
So this little girl, Harriet, stands up to give this speech in her classroom, and she stands up and there's no audio. And I'm like, stop. Bob, where's that part? And he's
yeah.
like, I got every channel up. I don't know. So it's Friday night or Saturday night, I don't remember, at 5:30, and we got no audio. All the actors have gone.
Oh,
They're all
my
gone to
God.
who knows where. And I'm like, what are we going to do? All right, I got an idea. So I get in the car and I drive over to this sushi bar.
Wait a
And
minute.
and I go in, and I take the script with me, and I go into the manager, and I said, here's what the deal is.
Oh my God.
I said, we do this for the airline
this is
work.
cold. You don't know these
I've
people
never,
at all.
I just drove into the place. It was near work.
Okay.
And I took the script with me, and I said, these 2 pages, I need somebody to read that. Can I rent your hostess for the next hour?
Oh my God.
And he said, I'm like, here's $100.
What about the voice matching?
We're going to work it out as good
Yeah,
as we
yeah,
could.
yeah.
At that point, we
Hollywood
just-
magic
That's
at that
right.
point. Yeah.
So I drive this gal back over to Postmodern at that time.
Boy, what a brave young woman.
Yeah, I mean we're only 2 blocks away, so
Yeah.
came
So you can
in,
still see the car.
Recorded 1 line at a time for these last 2 pages of dialogue. Took her back. She served dinner and did whatever she did.
Unbelievable.
We mixed this section and then went out to dinner and went back over there and ate.
Unbelievable.
I mean, talk about.
And you pulled that off? Nobody, you didn't get busted for it?
No, we delivered the whole thing. Her voice was close enough. It was.
Give me that's probably one of the best stories that we've had on Bernie's Apple Box, considering video cheating.
I mean, it was talk about scrambling.
Oh
know,
man! Oh man! What if it would have been an Italian place over there? You would have
Then
been
I would have been
totally-
in trouble. I mean, then I don't know what I'd do. But I thought, where am I going to find a Japanese
Oh my
speaking,
God!
female?
Of course, the young hostess didn't get any credits, no
she got nothing
residuals,
out of it, And so I'll go over there and figure out how to make that work. But
You're lucky it wasn't a huge hit. I can tell you that. If it would have been a huge hit with
Well,
all the
they booked that on the airlines for quite a while.
Gee,
I mean, it was a family kind of a
incredible.
Disney type
That's
film.
incredible. So, let me ask you a question. This just occurred to me, but I don't know the answer to it. When you're seeing a movie on an airline, and I imagine at one time it was DVD, VHS, CD, how are they delivering them now? Is it actually a physical copy of
It depends
something?
on the airline and the hardware on the planes.
Okay.
Right now, it takes a heck of a long time to justify putting new hardware on an old plane,
Yeah.
right? Because you got to take the plane out of service
Okay.
and either gut
And
it
then
or
spend
semi-gut
more
it
money.
and spend
Yeah.
money for the hardware and some way to deliver it from the head end to the seat or to the overhead.
Yeah.
So we still send some stuff out on videotape,
Okay.
in a couple of different formats.
On videotape.
Yeah.
On actual like
On
VHS
some stuff goes
videotape?
out on VHS, some on Super VHS.
Wow.
Some on High 8, some on
So
video
it's
8.
actually still
Not a lot.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
but I mean, the old days that we were sending
Oh, you were sending
zillions
truckloads.
of that out.
Truckloads.
Exactly. But over as planes get retired or new planes come into service, then they start getting file delivery systems on them. So now we send our
So before the plane takes out, it's uploading the movie and
Right.
then probably a selection of movies, I would
and
assume.
yeah, it depending on how long the flights are, it
Yeah.
depends on how many channels
Yeah.
and how much programming they have. So
Okay.
I know Rick and I went to South Africa in 97 or 98, something like that, for
Okay.
this airline conference.
Yeah.
And they were showing it on, the movie on videotape. And something broke down, and we watched Grumpy Your Old Men 2 5 times. It was just, the flight was horrifically long.
Yeah.
And they had one movie,
Yeah.
and nothing else would play.
And that was it.
And it was just like
Oh
over and
my
over.
God.
But, the longer flights, Singapore, Qantas, some of these other bigger airlines
yeah.
have multiple channels
Okay.
and lots of programming on them.
Interesting. So, but in some of them, people are still VHS.
It's like I
tape.
said, that's a very low number now.
Yeah.
So, but if you're going to be in the business, you got to be able to deliver that if that's what they want.
Right.
So, Building West, when we started working on that last year in whatever it was, August or
Yeah.
a little after that, I had a hell of a time finding hardware that was still available
Well,
to meet some of those needs. And I've
yeah.
walked you around over there.
You gave me a wonderful tour over there, and I was mind-boggled to see those VHS and DVD players in there.
You don't have, like I said, you don't deliver hundreds and thousands of them anymore.
Right.
You got to deliver, 12 of these and 40 of those.
Right.
Here and there. But you still got to have the machines and the tape stock to be able to do that.
Right, and you told me, and I can't remember them exactly, but you told some interesting stories on finding those. Where did you find them?
I was looking from every equipment broker I could find, to eBay, to Craigslist, to, all over the place.
Yeah.
And getting, okay, I'm going to buy 3 VHS decks from North Carolina.
And that's the way it was.
And that's where it was,
Yeah.
and it's how many
There's
guys.
3 over here,
There's
1
3
over here.
Oh, here's a guy that's got 6 that are in a barn somewhere.
Yeah.
And whatever. What do you want for him? And the guy's like, $400. I go, I just paid $20 for him.
Yeah.
He goes,
yeah.
oh well, okay, $25.
Yeah, right.
But you're going.
I
back
mean, at
and
that
forth.
point, I would be going, oh, yeah, you want to take these, get them out of here.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've been sitting
yeah.
here forever. Just please get rid of them.
Right.
So but even tape stock is like that.
Yeah, so how do you get the tape stock if you're looking for VHS or something
I
like that?
was shopping for VHS tape all over the place, and you used to go anywhere and buy it.
Oh, it was sick. Yeah,
Like it was going out of
everywhere. It was
style.
at the gas station.
It was going out. So. But now you buy 2 VHS tapes on eBay for like $19, and it's like what?
Yeah.
What the heck is that about?
That even seems cheap to me, to be honest with you. I mean, where do you get it?
I found a guy that had 9,000 tapes,
Oh my!
and so I bought them all. And we're going to be a while to use them,
Yeah.
but I know I'm never going to look for them again.
But you're the king right
And
now.
so if I ever got to get rid of them, I got to get rid of them. But you got to
Yeah.
be in the business, and you can't be. Oh,
Right.
we wish we could do your job, but
right.
I don't have any
right.
stingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Well,
love
here's
to
what
plug
you do. I've got
everything
an
in,
idea.
but-
If you find yourself with extra ones, you just make a cover of the best movies, shrink wrap them again. No one's
don't
ever
know
going to
if you-
put them in and watch them because you
Well-
don't have a VHS tape.
I'll let you do that. Okay.
All right. I guess I've just given away my
I'd be
criminal
careful on
larceny.
that
line.
one. Yeah. MPAA will be here pretty quick looking for you, I think, on that.
All right. That plan's off. That's off the
Yeah.
table.
Let that one go.
That is fascinating. That is amazing. And while we're on it, talking about your facility over there, I was amazed at the security. And you just mentioned the organization that you have to abide by
Right.
their rules and explain it for the security of the movie.
Well,
is that correct?
Yeah. The entertainment product that we get in
Yeah.
is typically 6 weeks out of the theater. So it's subject to pirating and short sheeting the revenue stream to the distributor, the owner.
And these are in the process of the movies you're doing. They're in the process of new movies, right? These are in first run still, in most cases.
So to make sure that that is secure
Yeah.
from any kind of piracy, the facility is all locked up and has key cards everywhere.
Yeah.
The server room and the machine room have biometric readers that you got to have a fingerprint.
Wow.
And only 2 people, me and one other guy, can get into there.
Yeah.
The file delivery system.
It sounds like the Federal Reserve
It's like
Bank that
Well,
I was at.
You know,
yeah.
you were over
yeah.
there, and come on in.
I
I'll show
was
you how
like,
this
yeah,
works.
yeah.
But the server and the delivery systems have multiple firewalls and encrypt. It's very
And that is a standard that you have to
adhere to. yeah.
adhere to. Yeah,
They have
right.
kind of a white paper and a protocol that you have to meet. Everything on there.
Right.
And you go through, and then they rate you. You have a lot of green light categories that you've covered. You got these that are a little touchy, and you got this you didn't meet.
Yeah.
So okay, you fix that and you change, but
Yeah,
you can't have any of the edit systems hooked up to the internet so that you could be working on something
So
and
nobody
send
can
it out.
sneak in or somebody
Right.
presses a button
You
and
got
all that.
things outside the bays where you got to drop
Yeah.
your phone so you can't
Yeah,
record something with that. It's all
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It's very locked
That's a big
down,
deal. There's a
you
lot
know.
of money involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, we're going to take a quick break, Martin, and we'll be right back.
good.
Bernie's workshop is fantastic. Bernie's workshop is awesome. Bernie's workshop is insightful.
Bernie, in one word, passionate maybe. You can tell he really cares a lot.
Bernie is a badass.
He's a great teacher. He has great stories, and I would recommend this to anyone. Not only someone like me who's starting day one, but I feel that in any profession, as you sharpen your sword, it always gets sharper.
I think the best thing about this is the access to understanding how to run your business, how to actually be in this filmmaking industry and make money at it. Coming to this workshop, I think, is what actually gets you the tools to understand how to do that, how to get out there and sell yourself.
I thought that was really cool. I thought, he knows all the tricks in the book, and he knows how to show that to us and actually demonstrate it so we actually know what he's talking about.
I really like the hands-on experience. That's something that you don't find a lot. That's something you have to go on set a lot to just appreciate.
I know this is lighting seminar, but it's not only talk about lightings. He also share his business experience, personal experience, and guide us to what we should do, what kind of personality we should have in this business.
His stories, I think that kind of say everything in a few example stories that he gives out from time to time.
I would recommend this workshop to anybody who just brand into the industry, people who just don't know the swing of it. A lot of the stuff they don't teach you in film school.
I deal with a lot of freelancers every day, a lot of peers that I went to school with, a lot of professionals in the field, and they all need to take this class because it puts you on the next level, on the next playing field.
Bernie's a great guy. Bernie's really authentic. Like everything he learns, everything he teaches, the way he handles himself, the way he deals with other people, he's a one-of-a-kind guy. Someone I've never come across before in the industry, and someone I hope to emulate and hope that there are more people like him out there that can help.
Hey, everybody, here we are back with Martin Wright of West Entertainment.
Yep.
And we are talking right now about your business model over at West, and that is editing movies and making them ready to be shown on the airlines.
Right.
And these are first-run movies for the better part.
And, well, and it depends on the airline and the owner or the distributor of it.
Yeah.
So it's some first run, some foreign, some, it's a
Okay,
mix.
okay, because you're doing Turkish
It's
Airlines,
international.
are you Turkish Airlines, China, all the different
All
ones.
different ones.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we have certain ones that we provide specifically for,
Right.
but that's because we're still young.
Yeah,
As time
yeah.
goes by, we will grow that.
It will grow that
into
out.
more airlines and more.
Sure. And we were just talking about the security features
Yeah.
over there concerning and what is the organization? Give me that again.
The MPAA,
MPAA. What does that
Motion
stand
Picture
for?
Association of America.
Okay, gotcha. And they are the ones tasked with setting the standards for security. Am I correct?
To prevent pirating or
So that's an organization that the industry made
Right.
to make sure that there's a level playing field for everybody's
Correct.
materials and stuff like
Right.
that. And you have to do it. You were just saying that you have lockout, tag out procedures that you have to
For-
do to make sure
that's
that
right.
everybody stays in line with that.
Yeah.
Then we had discussed also foreign places that, and you said that you do some of them now, but tell me about translation. What you told that great story just before, but
Well-
what about translation? How does that work?
As a general rule, most of the language tracks that come on anything are done in the territory that they're going to be played from.
Okay.
So that the translation's correct, the dialect and the enunciation, everything is accurate.
Yeah.
And then those will be done in that area for French folks. But especially like with sitcoms, you can't do like when Friends was on.
Okay.
Right? Well, that was on the airlines
All the
ad
time.
infinitum.
Yeah.
Right? But if it's going to be in Brazil, you got to have the same actors to play everybody's part for every episode.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to show 2 or 3 episodes even on one flight, or you're a frequent flyer, you can't say, well, that's a different.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah.
I can't see.
That guy sounds more like Joey. you
Right.
know?
Now it's not the, right.
Yeah.
So they would do those in territory, have a cast of characters.
Okay. And in territory, you mean where?
Like if it's in for South America, it may be done in Brazil.
Gotcha.
If it's going to be in France, there, or sometimes in Canada for French Canadian.
Yes.
Right? So whatever territory or geographic location.
And that selection or that translation is made by the who produces the movie. Am I correct?
Yes, or,
Okay.
or a company that they work with specifically that
They
does
task for that
kind of work.
Yeah.
Right.
And so those people, those actors that doing the translation, they're cast over there. They do it. Then they send you this finished product.
Correct.
Okay. Very
So
good.
then we will put that in
Then
some
you-
cases, whether it went on a tape and it had English, French, German on the tape, or
Right.
whatever the languages were, or as files now, that here's the file with X number of languages and X number of subtitles, and then that's delivered so that when you're on the plane, it can be,
Okay.
you know, if you speak a language that doesn't have an audio track, maybe it has a subtitle track.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can watch it and read along.
Okay. So
anyway.
And so this is done now, and let me understand this. When you say a file and you're putting in this, can they on the plane then select, oh, I want this in Spanish or Chinese? Or,
That's
so right
generally
there
the-
on the thing, they can select which.
Right. So their user interface on the screen there will have, I want the subtitles on or off, and which subtitle I want to choose, and what language I want to listen to.
Wow. And the
So-
individual in the seat can do that.
Right.
Wow. That's pretty incredible.
So-
I didn't realize that.
Well, you don't get around.
Well,
much.
you know,
There's that.
I fly Frontier.
So, you know, but a lot goes with that because when the feature comes out initially, it is X long with all the scenes.
Yes.
And if they're going to do audio and subtitles, that all goes with it.
Sure.
As soon as you start editing content out of that, well, the language doesn't match, the subtitles don't match anymore because you've taken scenes out of the film.
Gotcha.
Or you've re-edited parts of the film to show a different scene if you're just leaving the storyline intact, but you've got to cut the visual in
Sure.
some way. So that we have to do it in stages at work where we get it in. There may be an edit list that comes from the producer or from a studio, or it's reviewed by staff at our place and decide what's going to get cut out. You edit the film for that version.
Just let me stop you right
Yeah.
there. When you said, do you get a list of what you have to take out? There must be a
Sometimes.
standard of by the airlines. You must know airline standards. Like you can't do this,
When
this.
you work with them enough, you realize that, hey, Kuwaiti Air wants something that meets this criteria, or another airlines that maybe
Is that a
won't.
written document? Do you have that, or is that just
you know, I
like
don't know.
like business?
If it is a
knowledge?
written one, I've never
They
seen.
must
it.
have it in some
It's,
form, though,
you
right?
know,
You would think maybe.
the guys like Shafin Virji that works running our lab in that capacity with the airline distributors and some of the other supply entertainment companies, he's top shelf. and he knows how these guys want it and where it's going and how they want it.
Yeah.
This goes back to Rick again, really. Because of all the years he had Postmodern, he really built a crack team over there of people in this airline entertainment
This niche
business.
Yeah.
And so when we started West, we started cherry picking people from there, from other places that have done this a long time.
Sure.
And so it wasn't, hey, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, as the IT guys, we got like 2 of them, and they know specifically here's how the infrastructure has to work.
Right.
The people in each of the edit bays and the audio rooms and the transcoding areas, each of those guys know their gig frontwards and backwards.
Right.
And so one of the things we're doing now, which is slick as hell, quite frankly, is we've got an automated workflow where files come in and they go through an automated QC so that it checks to make sure that video and audio levels and dropouts, if any, are all identified and either accepted or it's rejected. Then the work orders are created and it automatically posts an schedule in the edit bay to say, okay, here's what you've got today. You take these files, here's what you got to do, you got your information, you go with that. When you're done, you say, I've completed it, it's this many hours. And it sends the email to the next department for audio, and he does the same thing.
Okay.
And the file stays at the server, but the editor or the audio engineer is working in their rooms.
So your editor goes in, he does his thing with the cuts, you know, the transitions and all that. Then it goes to audio with his notes, so the audio engineer knows what he has to adjust or add.
He has to follow the same.
Right.
And then it goes from there into the transcoding area. And Jesse takes that, he's got 100 or 150 profiles of what kind of file has to go to what kind of airline or what kind of airplane based on that airline. Because different, even within, say, American, they've got a whole bunch of different delivery systems on their planes.
Right.
So you can't just say, here's, you know, a MOV file, you're set to go.
Yeah.
It's got to be whatever.
And
specifically,
every specific movie comes out with all those different files so that the airline can then send it to where it wants to?
It comes out generally as a ProRes when we get it.
Okay.
And then we transcode it into the different codecs that go to different airlines.
Go to different specific
and then we send it
airlines.
out.
Gotcha.
And then we keep a copy on our server. You saw when we were in there, you know, we have a huge amount of storage.
Right.
And backup systems
Oh,
and
it's
an archive system
unbelievable.
to that. So that you can't just do it and then throw it away because it's going to come back later.
Right.
So whether it's another airline or later in life. So all of that follows along and each guy checks off their boxes as they do it. And it logs all of that, moves all the data around, and then sends the file for invoicing at the end based on how many hours, and then we can just create the invoice from there.
And that's sort of how you invoice. It's based on hourly.
Or some things are flat rate or whatever.
Yeah.
But Rick really started working on this years and years ago, and I remember kind of laughing at him and him saying, it can't be that hard. You know, we'll just do this. And there was guys from all different aspects trying to make it work. And finally and Eric Silverstein at work has been really heading that up with the supplier of the software to get all of the different components to make, when you're making a work order, it knows it's got to do this, this, and this, and this, and follow it around the building. It's pretty hard, and there's a lot to it.
Well, there's a lot of obvious detail to it, security to it. You know, and let me ask you about this, because this is the other thing. There's probably plenty of directors and DPs cringing as we talk about editing their movie.
Yeah.
What is that like? Is that do you deal directly with the studios on creativity?
That varies. It depends on the director or the distributor or the studio or the airline, right? Some are my film is only going to be cut this way, and this is what I've authorized.
And that's it.
And that's their end of story.
And if you can't show it on your plane,
right? If that
that's
doesn't
not my
fit,
problem.
that doesn't fit.
Okay.
Right. And there are others that are, make it work.
Yeah.
And somewhere in between.
Okay.
So That's why sometimes we get notes, sometimes we just get free rein that said make this fit where it's
Make
supposed
it
to
work.
go.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, that's interesting.
So-
I would have thought it would have been a little more detailed, to be honest with you.
Well,
like you can't do this or you can't do
There is a lot of that.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm simplifying it.
Right, right,
You know,
right.
but you get specific notes in that said this is what comes out, or this is what I'm going to allow you to take out in some cases.
Yeah.
Or there's a sensitivity from either the editor or from our customer service side that says, you know, those airlines, or in some cases cruise ships, they won't accept this. So we've got to trim this thing up and work with it more before we can actually deliver it.
Yeah.
So
Is your company in the pipeline of talking directly to airlines? Do the
Yes.
people that, so they will come directly back to you and say we need
there
this
are,
changed?
there are, in fact, Kate, who is kind of heads that section up.
Yeah.
We're probably getting 2 or 3 requests for quotes a week now.
Oh, wow.
From airlines or cruise ships or some other entertainment entity.
Yeah.
So, which is great.
And you mentioned cruise ships. I actually did not realize that you
you
have
know,
that.
even when Postmodern was swinging big,
Yeah.
it was planes, cruise ships, trains, prisons, the military.
Prisons?
Yeah, well, you know, you got to, they can't.
Boy, they
just
never
get
had
anything
movies
in.
when I was in prison, I'll tell
Well,
you that.
that's- Yeah, well, you had storyboard.
Yeah,
stuff.
well,
you guys were drawing.
we wrote on
pictures.
the wall.
That's
We were
right.
more caveman
doing your own,
style,
doing
yeah.
your own cartoons. But you know, all of those different, you know, it's like hotels. So hotels have or used to have, you know, specific
Oh,
channels. and that.
sure, sure.
So there's different. Not everything just goes straight to the theater and ends up on your TV at home.
Yeah, which is sort of a whole thing, even being in the business, I missed until I knew you,
Yeah.
until I knew what your business model was and what you guys did. That's fascinating.
Well,
it really
you know, I
is.
mean, if from your side, you know, you look at the grip and lighting side.
Yeah.
There's a lot of peripheral entities to that. Guys that make hardware.
Oh.
You know, guys that make trick toys
Yeah.
or whatever that happen.
Yeah.
And you know, I used to say years and years ago, the guy who made all the money in the entertainment business
Yeah.
was that guy that made the little white hub in the middle of the VHS tape.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because that was on everything.
Because there was like billions
It's-
of those.
there was-
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the guy making the movie made a lot of money, but this
Yeah.
guy, those went to everybody's movie.
Right, right.
You know, or anything that ever
Well,
went
you know,
on.
the other one in sort of the same context, I thought, is like the people who made the most money on movies were the people that made the theater seats.
Yeah.
You know, because those things couldn't be cheap. And look, every theater is loaded with
That's
them, right?
right.
You know?
When I was a young teenager, a friend of mine, his dad worked for GE or somebody.
Right.
You know, and I said, well, you know, what it's like doing that? He goes, people are always going to use light bulbs. If they don't use this kind, they'll use the next kind, and I'm
Right.
going to sell those too.
Right.
So, you know, if you want to get in something, get in light bulbs.
Yeah.
They're going to
yeah.
use that.
Or the
we're
next
never
best
going back
thing, make
to
the
candles.
sockets. Make the sockets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
but one of those kind of things that.
Yeah, no,
you know,
it's so true, and I think a lot of people actually miss that.
Well, you don't.
You know?
It's you don't think about it.
Yeah, just
You know?
like the movies on the airplane.
Right.
I never gave it a thought in my life. I never gave it a thought in my life. You know what, buddy? I'm so glad you came.
You
You're
bet.
a good friend. We've been friends for a long time,
Yeah.
but I'm so glad you did
This
this
is
and
fun.
was able to talk about it, because I think a lot of people, I mean, just this is one thing that we try to do here on Bernie's Apple Box too, is show the enormity of our industry. Most people think that our entire industry is just TV shows and movies.
Right.
And it's just a guy cranking up and, oh, that looked good,
Yeah.
so put it in the movie.
But you know,
It's
every aspect, guys that make lights or teleprompters or
everything.
people that build trucks, you know, and
Yep.
specialty items like that. or
Carts.
whatever.
Carts that the lights go on in the truck.
It's all.
Yeah.
It's all part of the business.
Yeah, no, that is it. Thank you so much, Martin.
You bet.
Where can, oh, and we didn't even show any pictures. We're going to show some pictures. Can you bring up a
got a
picture
couple of
the,
those?
yeah, let's, there we go. So that's the outside of your building
Yeah.
there.
We were looking for buildings, and
Yeah.
the lease guy says, "I can show you something. You're not going to like it." And we went over there and took a look at it, and the whole front was all these little cubby offices.
Yeah.
And kind of walked in and went, well, So we
Yeah,
tore
so
that
you
out.
tore
There's
it out. There it
that's
is,
the
the open
interior. So we
space, yeah.
basically gutted it, built a 2-story section in the back there with offices at the top and the
Okay.
lobby and conference rooms and kitchen and a couple executive offices at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then he said, now you can go to the back.
Oh, there's one of your rooms.
So
one of
that's
your rack
a
rooms.
machine room back at
And
the back.
that's some of the old VHS machines.
Yeah, they're on the
in there,
right-hand
there.
side.
On the right-hand side,
Head-end
yeah.
equipment there at the
Yeah. So
straight
that's your
back.
specialty stuff.
That's one of our audio bays there.
Okay.
And we do 5.1 in there, and Andrew does a hell of a job in that room.
Yep.
But, you know, we mix features and remix things and that. So that's one of the 2 video edit bays.
Okay.
They're big, they're comfortable.
Yeah.
They're
Nice
those are
place to
5.1 as
work
well.
for the
That's another
guys.
one there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's they're, you know, it's a
really
very
nice,
comfortable,
beautiful facility.
and beautiful
Yeah.
place to work. So
Yeah.
we're growing pretty
That's
quickly.
great. That's
and
great.
have put a lot of emphasis and attention into making it right from the get-go.
Yeah.
So from how nice and comfortable it is, how much security, how
Taking a
much
tour
engineering.
over there like you gave me and showed me is exactly, you can just see the care, because I mean, you even talked about there's trucks that go by in the street and you have a recording booth. How many tons of sand did you
4.
put? 4 tons of sand in the floor,
Yeah.
so you can get rid of the truck vibration from the street. That's
Exactly. So
30
you know,
feet
we
away.
built a false floor in there and set that up, and then I was going buying this construction sand from Home Depot.
Yeah.
In the back and dragging my truck like this to get it back and dumping it in there. But it was still wet, and we had to run fans in there for a week and a half to dry it all out before we could move
Incredible.
on to the next step.
How do people get a hold of you guys?
You can give us a call or look at westend.com
Mm-hmm.
to find us online, or
Give me that .com again.
westend.com.
ENT.
ENT for
Okay,
entertainment.
.com. Okay. Martin, thank
You
you
bet.
so much, buddy. And that's about it. And hey, everybody, we'll see you back here next week on Bernie's Apple Box. Thanks. Cut. That's a wrap.